Linda Ronstadt. Picture this. Los Angeles, late 70 seconds. Backstage at a hot venue, the air sticky with cigarette smoke and adrenaline. Musicians drift past like gods among mortals. Then, out of nowhere, Linda walks out of the green room. No drama, no shouting, just a cool, deliberate exit that made people stop and stare. For years, nobody knew why. She never fed the gossip columns. She kept smiling in interviews, never once trading scandal for headlines. But when she finally spoke, it wasn't to curse or to cash in, it was to name the people who cut her deepest. Names that meant more than petty beefs. Names that tell you what this industry did to a woman trying to be taken seriously. Don Henley. First up, the drummer turned frontman who would become one of rock's biggest egos. Don Henley wasn't born an arena ruler. In the early days, he was a sideman, someone Linda gave a real shot. But when his band took off, something changed. Gratitude turned into distance. The story that sticks is a backstage line in 1975 that wasn't just rude, it erased her work. He mocked her songwriting, implied she should stick to covers, and acted like the world belonged to him. She didn't yell. She pulled his credentials and walked away. That quiet decision said more than 1,000 headlines. For Linda, it wasn't only betrayal, it was the erasing of her craft. Jim Morrison. Then there's the night that happened in a blur. A singer drunk enough to forget boundaries. Jim Morrison, loaded on charm and spirits, pulled Linda on stage at a private party and tried to kiss her without warning. She rejected it. He tumbled into the mic stand. The moment wasn't filmed, but it was retold for years in whispers. Morrison never apologized. He later dismissed her in interviews. To Linda, that moment wasn't a story to tell for laughs. It was proof that fame could fuel entitlement. Genius, yes, but reckless, hurtful. A reminder that the most dangerous things are often wrapped in charisma. Neil Young. Not all wounds come from ego trips or sloppy kisses. Some cut deeper because they come from allies. At a benefit concert in 1976, Linda found herself dismissed by a fellow artist she thought shared her convictions, Neil Young. Publicly, he belittled her fit for protest music and privately dismissed her input. Imagine standing for something together and then being told you don't belong in that circle. For someone who believed music could move people, that rejection felt like betrayal of the cause itself. After that night, she wouldn't share a stage with him again. Frank Zappa artistic clashes happen, but some are humiliations in front of peers. Frank Zappa was brilliant and brutal in equal measure. A 1,974 studio session that was supposed to spark something new turned icy. Zappa called her voice too clean, accused her of smoothing his art into something commercial, and then, mid-rehearsal, publicly derided her in front of the band. She left, humiliated. Not because he was right about style, but because the dismissal was personal and public. She respected his mind, but vowed never to work with him again. That moment stripped away more than a collaboration. It shook her confidence. David Crosby Laurel Canyon was supposed to be a community of equals. For a time, Linda and David Crosby shared that dream. They sang together, argued like family, and believed they were shaping something real. But in 1978, a studio spat over a simple key change turned nasty. Crosby shrugged off her request and later branded her manufactured in an interview. To be called less than authentic by someone you trusted is a cut that won't heal with an apology. She didn't retaliate in print. Instead, she made a quieter choice. He vanished from her playlists, conversations, and collaborations. A bridge burned with no dramatics, just a silent erasure. Elvis Costello. Then came a new voice on the scene that loved to poke and provoke. Elvis Costello, sharp and hungry, publicly dismissed one of Linda's performances as background music for brunch. The barb landed in a world where public perception mattered. She confronted him, hoping for a civil exchange. He responded with more venom and walked away. That kind of cold contempt from the next generation stung differently. It wasn't just criticism. It felt like a dismissal of everything she had worked to protect: musical integrity, emotional honesty, and the right to be taken seriously. Paul Simon. The last name cuts in a different way. Not a crack in friendship or public mockery, but control disguised as collaboration. In 1982, they tried to make music together. It should have been magic. Instead, it became a lesson in power dynamics. Paul Simon, meticulous and exacting, rewrote parts and corrected phrasing on the fly. Linda later said it felt like being scolded by a school principal. The duet never made it out of the studio. The song was shelved, and the partnership dissolved. For someone whose voice carried courage, being treated like a student was a wound to her dignity. Why tell these stories now? Because staying silent was a choice, too. Linda didn't play the outrage game. She let her records do the talking. But silence can also be a pressure valve that hides bruises. When she finally lifted the lid, she wasn't seeking revenge. She was naming the cost of staying brilliant in a scene that often rewarded men for the very behavior that sidelined women. So, what do we take from these 7 names? That fame is messy. That genius and cruelty can live in the same body. That sometimes the person who helps you up is forgotten the moment they stop climbing the same ladder. And that dignity isn't always defended with shouts. Sometimes it's defended with a single, decisive exit. Because here's the truth. Linda Ronstadt's story isn't just about grudges or broken friendships. It's about survival in an industry that often demanded women smile while swallowing disrespect. Every insult, every betrayal, every time she walked away, instead of lashing out, it built her legend piece by piece. Behind that calm composure was fire. A woman who refused to let bitterness define her, who turned pain into poise and silence into strength. And maybe that's why her music still hits differently, because you can hear every scar in her voice, even when she never said a word about them. Which of these stories hit you the hardest? Did she do the right thing by staying quiet for so long? Or was silence another kind of loss? Drop your thoughts below. If you want more deep dives like this, hit like and subscribe. We'll keep telling the stories, the headlines left out.